Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Mike here, and welcome to the next lesson in the D programming language series. In this lesson, I'm going to be talking about something that's going to be a little bit of a quality of life improvement for you. And that's if you use a text editor like VIM or perhaps Emacs, just something where you want some sort of auto-completion or the ability to jump to functions. And that's going to be how to use ctags with the D programming language. So let me go ahead and dive in here. I'll go ahead and set up a sample project and show you how to get a rudimentary version of this working, and then feel free to expand on as you need. But for me, I just need to know how to get this set up, and it's really helpful. So let's go ahead and begin here. So for my setup here, I don't have any files here, so let's go ahead and just create a simple D project here. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a main, and let's go ahead and just import standard stdio here, and maybe write line hello or something of that nature, and then we'll just use rdmd in order to run this project. And here it is. So we have a working D project. Now, something that you might do in D, of course, is not just rely on, well, running one file at a time. And we haven't really talked about this extensively in the series, but what we can do here is let's just go ahead and split this file here. Or rather, let me open up a new file. I'm just going to call it mymath.d here. And let's just go ahead and write a function for D. I'll just go ahead and make it auto and something simple like an add function, int a, int b, and we'll just return a plus b. And if I want to use this module, I can just go ahead and import my math. And again, if I look at my structure here, I've got my math here. It's in the same directory as my folder here. So now I can just run this and it'll execute from the main. I'll just use star.d, that'll execute everything. And this should work just fine here. Now let's actually take advantage and use the add function here. So let's write line. Well, let's just actually compute some result here, adding 5 and 6. And we'll write the result out. And let's just go ahead and make sure this program works, and it works fine. Okay, so the point of this is that I have two separate files, and I might want to jump between files and see what exactly is going on in my program. And that's where ctags and the autocomplete feature comes into play here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this file here. Now, depending on your IDE, you might have this built in, and depending on what types of tools you're using, even for the D language. But for Vim, we use something known as a tag. So if I hit Control and then the bracket, you'll notice no tags found. And tags are a technique where we can jump to a particular function here. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this, but this time what I've enabled on this video is you're going to see my key presses as I type them, just so you can follow along here. So again, let me do Control and then the right brackets here, and again, no tags found. So how do we generate one of these tags files? Well, there are tools like ctags, for instance, which you can install. So you can type in ctags to see if you have it, or the equivalent of brew install ctags on a Mac or on Linux, sudo apt-get ctags, and basically it's a way to generate something called a tag file. Now, what you'll notice here for ctags, and if I search for the list of supported languages here, and I'll go ahead and find this feature here, list languages, and let's just go ahead and check for the support here. Well, let me go ahead and pop this in here. If I look for this list, I currently don't see the D programming language supported at this time. And maybe that'll change, but good news is there's a better tool that has a lot of other options that we can use to generate this tags file. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just do a Google search here for the dscanner GitHub. So what is dscanner? Well, it's a Swiss Army knife tool for, well, helping you make better D projects. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is scroll down here. I'm going to go ahead and use this with dub. Again, something that we haven't talked about in this particular series, but I hope will give you a cool preview of things to come here. And let's go ahead and install it. So I'll go ahead and copy this command line here. I'll go ahead and do this in my terminal. And let's go ahead and just paste it in here. And again, just so you can see that line, dub fetch dscanner, and then we'll immediately run it. And well, I've already got it installed. It might take you a moment, and it'll immediately give you some of the options for running with dub here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is just hold on to dub run dscanner. And before I close out this page, you should just keep in mind that there's a lot of other cool things that you can do with this dscanner tool, like looking at the syntax, style checkers, and so on. And if you're interested, I'll do a video on this later. I think it's a really cool tool. But with that said, let's go ahead and first figure out how to use dscanner here to create a ctags file. So in order for us to do this, what I'm going to go ahead and do is use dub run dscanner, and then -- and then that will get ready for, well, taking in some commands for dscanner. Now, if you install dscanner through your package manager or some other way, you don't need to use dub run, and you can just type out dscanner, but this is the way that I'm going to set up things here. And what I want to do here is do ctags and then whatever my test files are. So maybe main.d, and what else do I have here? Well, my math here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and at this point, I'll hit enter. And you'll see immediately a bunch of output here that's printed to our standard out. And then you'll go ahead and see this tag format here. Now, what's in the ctag format is an add. Well, that's our add function, main, which is our main function. And you'll see some associated information such as where that file is, the line number it shows up, and so on. And this is in fact the information that the tool is using in order to find files. Now let's go ahead and try that again, but this time I'm just going to output to tags here. And if I go ahead and open up that tags file in Vim as such, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this output here. There's probably a cleaner way to do it, but I just want the regular tag format here. Okay, now let's go ahead and write that change. And I'll keep my tag file here on the right side. And then now what I'll go ahead and do is from Vim here is I want to load that tag file. So how do I do that? Well, the typical way that I do this is that I go ahead and just do : set tag plus equal, and wherever this file is, and I called it tags. So I'll just go ahead and hit enter, and that should have added the tag file that we need. Now let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight over add here and do control bracket, and voila, just like that, I'm at my add function. And that's pretty neat that I can just do that. Now let's go ahead and figure out how to go back in Vim, control O, and I'm back to where I started. So this way I can jump between my function definitions and see the implementation very easily. It's a very nice feature that I'm able to use here so that I can see how functions or classes work. And this works for things like classes, structs, etc. But I want to go ahead and show you a little bit more power, because oftentimes I don't want to just look at functions that I have, but I actually want to look at functions like writeLine in phobos. So how can I do that without having to constantly switch back and forth between the website? While I do love the Dlang website, sometimes I just want to stay in Vim and write some code. So let's go ahead and take things a step further. I'm going to go ahead and open up and search for the phobos library here on the D programming language page. And let's actually search for not just the library, but let's go ahead and look for the GitHub page. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is clone this repository. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and clone this repository into my current project here. Let's just go ahead and clone it here. And it'll take just a few moments to get ready. And then as this is running here, what I'm going to do next is to generate a ctags file that includes all of Phobos as well as my current project. Because I'm assuming that most of you who are using this library here, it isn't going to change over time as frequently as you need. Now, it might be a good idea to download and keep your D up to date, but again, this is just one way that you can get a tags file for everything here. So let's go ahead into Phobos. And what we'll go ahead and do here is pretty much the same command here. So I can go up in my history. Let's see if I have it. drun, dscanner, ctags. And this time, what I'm going to go ahead and do is let's just go ahead and see what happens if I just do dot here. And let's go ahead and make this so you can see it on one line. And again, this might take a few moments, but overall it runs pretty fast. I've got my tags file, this time in the Phobos directory. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this cruft here. And now if I look through this file here, and sorry, I won't scroll through it too fast, but you'll see I'm starting to see a lot of information that, well, depending on how much D you've used, should look familiar. There's a parallelism library and so on. In fact, if I do capital G here, you'll see that I've located about, well, 15,000 lines or so of Phobos libraries here. So let's go ahead and hit WQ here to save our changes. And again, now we have this tags file for our phobos library. So how can I use that now within my project? Well, what I can do is set tag, same thing we did previously. And this time I'm going to do plus equal, but I want to go ahead and look inside of phobos and load that tags file. So that's going to add, in addition here, the phobos library. So I'll go ahead and hit enter. And now what I can go ahead and do is if I scroll over something like right line and I hit control and then the right bracket, well, look at that. I'm in the phobos library. So let's go ahead and close this window to give ourselves a little bit more real estate. And now I can kind of look around and see what's going on with right line. And the nice thing about D is it's generating its documentation from, well, the actual source code. So we can see here very quickly what this function does. And then again, remember, Control O jumps me back to my code here. So I think that's pretty neat here. And let's go ahead and just try this with another function. And let's go ahead and try something a little bit more interesting here. Let's go ahead and import standard container. Let's go ahead and open up a new container. Again, something we haven't talked about yet on this series, but might be interesting. I'll just call this list. And let's go ahead and use dlist. Let's just go ahead and set it up for some integers here, maybe 1, 2, 3, something like that. And maybe we want to remove from the front of our list. And let's just go ahead and see how that works here, see if it takes any arguments. And I'll just go ahead and hit control the bracket. And we can see remove front. Removes the largest element from the heap here. And let's just go ahead and see if this works in our code. Go ahead and do rdmd. All my D files here. Looks like it's working. That's great. Back into my main here. And now I can explore back and forth between my library. Now you'll notice at this point, when I have closed out Vim, I'll go ahead and do control and then the bracket, and I'll say tag not found, remove front. Well, what does that mean? Well, I have to do colon, scroll through my history, re-add tags, and then do control, the bracket, and now I can see again these functions as needed, and then go control O to get back. Now, you might at this point get a little bit annoyed with having to set the tags every time. So what I could recommend is that you go inside of your Vim RC file, which you could do as such here. And let's just go ahead and create a new window here. So I'll go ahead and split. And in your home directory, if you don't have one, this will create the file. Otherwise, it will pop into it. Then you could, in fact, set that tags file and set it to the phobos library if you wanted. Again, if that's something that you're going to be using frequently, that might be something that I recommend doing. So with that said, folks, I hope this was a useful video. I hope it gets you set up with ctags on Vim, if that's a tool that you like using, or ctags with your other favorite text editor. And I think this will just help you be a little bit more productive if you want to not have to jump between documentation, or within your own projects, if you want to be able to jump back and forth between the data structures that you create. So folks, if you found that helpful, make sure to give a like and subscribe. As always, your support helps. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to engage in the discussion below. And thank you for your time and attention.